Hi, everyone. Welcome to the International Black Summit Interview Podcast. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, the International Black Summit is an organization that was created in 1991, and our purpose is to provide an opportunity for our participants to bring into being their vision for the Black community and the world. So thanks for being with us tonight. In this interview podcast, we interview current or past facilitators of the summit or participants of the summit to find out how they have used the International Black Summit's tools, distinctions, and experiences in their lives, in their communities, in their families, and in their visions for the world. Tonight, we are interviewing Clara Lyons-DeVaughn, somebody that Glenn and I have both known for a number of years. She was a facilitator, an active facilitator of the International Black Summit, has held a number of different positions with the International Black Summit, and has an interesting background. So before we have her join us, I'm just going to read her biography here. So let me just read it to you. So Clara Lyons-DeVaughn is the broker owner of Lyonsview Realty, a full-service brokerage providing residential, commercial, real estate for small businesses and nonprofits and property management services. Clara has been a real estate professional since 1996 and started her career in California with Prudential Real Estate and later Session Real Estate. She moved to New Jersey in 2005, secured her New Jersey license, and signed on with Weichert Realtors in 2006. She purchased and sold real estate in both states and was bi-coastal for almost 3 years before settling in and focusing her attention in New Jersey. At Weichert, she was a mentor to new agents and secured her broker's license in 2012. She left Weichert in 2013 to become broker of record at Nextre, N-E-X-T-R-E, New Jersey, responsible for agents in South, Central, and Northern New Jersey. Clara is a short sales specialist and holds the CDPE, Certified Distressed Property Expert designation. Clara opened Lyonsview Realty in May 2016, the first arm of the Lyonsview brand. The brand includes Lyonsview Academy, the education arm, Lyonsview Lifestyles, the health and wellness arm, and Lyonsview Management Solutions, the contract and consulting arm. Clara received her Master of Science and undergraduate degrees from the University of Southern California, and prior to entering the field of real estate full-time, was a financial and management analyst at the local, state, and federal levels. Clara is an avid traveler and has been to several countries on the continent of Africa, also to Brazil, to Canada, to Mexico, to Europe, the Caribbean islands, and to numerous US states. Clara joined the facilitator body of the International Black Summit shortly after attending her first summit event in Oakland, California in 1993. She participated as the finance coordinator for several years, was one of the co-founders and original hosts of the International Black Summit blog talk radio show, and met her husband, Edwin Blacklove DeVaughn, at the Philadelphia Summit. Clara served as the director of the Victorious Business Professionals Ministry at Victory in Christ Christian Center from 2013 to 2022. In this role, she was responsible for the development and execution of programs for entrepreneurs and business professionals at the church. Clara started her New Jersey NAREB service as the SJNAREB membership chair, that being the Southern New Jersey chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and worked on the Interfaith Housing Institute initiative with CAREB before coming to New Jersey. She has served as the New Jersey state president of that organization and currently serves as their board chair. She was also the regional vice president for that organization in 2022 and president of the Southern New Jersey chapter from 2014 to 2019. So welcome, 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 Clara. Ooh, that's a lot in your background there.
So go ahead and start.
It's a lot for me to cover. A lot you have done in your life, my girl. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Great to see you all.
There you go.
Hey, there you go. Here you are with us.
All right. Welcome, welcome. Blog Talk Radio. Hey. Oh my goodness.
That that was like the precursor to the weekly events that we have, the Sunday Summit shares, I believe.
That is correct.
That's great.
We did that every Sunday night, interviewing and bringing up topics of concern. But let's get right back to you, Clara. So,
Absolutely.
what was the first uh, interaction? The first, what got you to the summit? What brought you to this International Black Summit?
Wow. There were a couple of things. So I had my first summit share actually in 1993 in Oakland, California. And at that time, which is not in my bio, I was doing acting of all
Oh,
things.
wow.
Yeah. And I was doing a lot of projects at the Oakland Ensemble Theater. And I saw a flyer there for a summit share. And then I got another one from Kathy Andrews, who gave me a flyer for the summit shares, and Susan Shelton invited me to the summit share. So I was like, what is this, International Black Summit thing, right? And and it wasn't just a flyer, like on the flyer was the declaration of the International Black Summit. And I was so moved and drawn to it. I was like, this is something that I really, really want to check out. And if I could, I'd like to share the declaration because I think it's very powerful. If that's okay with you guys.
I think that's great. We should be able to bring that up on screen. Glenn, do you have that, or I can share it?
I do.
So it's the declaration of the International Black Summit. We declare ourselves, our community, and all communities whole and complete. There is nothing to do except be. We assert that we are responsible for generating community as possibility and distinction. We listen for and grant being to the possibility and creation of unpredictable results. Our conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity with the possibility of being. We stand for the expression of our spirituality, ending the murders of our men, our women, and our children, building economies responsible for funding our community, maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, providing human services, establishing nurturing relationships, altering the conversation of who we are in the media, empowering our youth. We declare that our community manifests itself in the world as a contribution in the transformation of the universe. Atlanta, Georgia, October 7th, 1991. And that blew me away. Like, it spoke to so many things that are important to me. And, I'm a person of spirituality. I'm a person of unity. I'm about establishing things that are nurturing. I'm totally about changing the conversation of who we are in the media and the conversation of who we talk about ourselves with each other. So it was just, when I saw the declaration, I'm like, I have to go and check this thing out. And so it was in, what was it? 1998, actually, when I went to Atlanta for my first summit. And then I didn't make the ones that were out of the country, but I think the next one that was in state was in 2000 in Philadelphia, where I met my husband, Edwin Black Love DeVaughn. And we got married in 2001, a year later, which that's a whole nother story. And we had a 12-year run of not missing a summit until he passed in 2012. And we had just come back from the Birmingham, Alabama summit. And then we had gone to his family reunion in Virginia And then all heck broke loose. With his transition, it really kind of sent me into a tailspin. So I went into a hiatus for a while, but got back in 2015 in Atlanta, Ferguson in 2016, DC, and then Detroit. But one of the things I just want to thank the Summit family, because the Summit family showed up at Edwin's funeral. And we also had the declaration shared at that occasion. And when I think about the summit, I just think about family, because it really expanded my family to an international family, because people came from Canada, people came from Africa, from Jamaica, from all over the United States to be with us in that moment. And I just want to say I love you guys and I appreciate you for that. And one of the things that is really present in the energy of the summit that continues to draw me is just that sense of community and that sense of family and that sense of total engagement and belonging that is generated in the summit events and outside of the summit events. So, yeah, I know that's a long answer to a short question, but I think the energy of the summit is very powerful, and the energy of the declaration. Yeah.
You know, that was a long and for me engaging answer to that first question, because there were things in that answer that I didn't know about you, and that I would never have guessed that you were acting at that time.
No, right?
I had I had no idea. You know, it's interesting how we can get to know each other through the International Black Summit or anywhere in life. And as human beings, we all have layers. You know, we all have
Yeah.
layers and layers. And so just thank you for sharing another layer of who you are with us tonight. I appreciate that.
Yes. I've been acting since, wow, I want to say junior high school.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah. I was in a group called the Black Actors Company. Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
were an actor, you were in finance, you've been in real
Great.
estate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just picking all of these different aspects of who you, of who you
Yeah.
are. That's great. So, you know, one of the reasons why we decided to do the podcast was really to just engage with um, current and past facilitators and participants in the International Black Summit, just to get a sense of how people have used the summit distinctions and the summit
Mm.
tools over the years in their lives, you know, in their families, in their communities. You know, I know how I have used those tools and distinctions to create my life in a way that really has been empowering for me. And so I'm just always interested to hear how has being a part of the summit and learning these tools shifted you or shifted your life.
So, a couple of things. One, I've always had a worldview, right? At a very young age, I think, God, I don't even remember how old I was. So, I had to be maybe around 6 or 7, somewhere around there. And my dad asked me what I had a choice for my birthday. I could go to Fairyland or I could go on a plane ride. And I said, I can go to Fairyland anytime. I want to go on the plane ride. And so went up in this plane and I got a chance to see, the city, and it was just all these grids, the houses, everything got smaller the higher up you would go. And things, it was just a whole nother perspective. And I got hooked on traveling. Like there's something more than what you know. There's something else out there, right? There's something else out there in the world. And I started traveling, went to Europe um, with a friend, one of my sorority sisters, and we did all of the capitals of Europe. And so I've been, to different places. I went to Africa in the middle of the coup. And so
Which coup?
the thing about The one in Nigeria. Yeah. In Nigeria, I think that was in 1981, somewhere around there, 81, 82. Yeah. Yeah. And they had held up my visa because the coup was going on. But I did get there eventually, and my friends couldn't come into the airport to get me. So I had angels. I mean, this guy just came out of nowhere and just stood behind me while I was standing in line. And I took my niece with me. She was 16 at the time. And
Oh, nice.
they just, yeah, they didn't mess with us. And then when we got to the luggage, another guy came up. He's like, I will help you, with your luggage and da da da. And he stayed with me until I got with my friend. And of course, he wanted my friend to pay him, which was fine. And then, we went on about our business. But everywhere we went in groups because they had not machete, what do you call those? AK-47 machine guns, and they would stop you all the time on the road. So it was an interesting experience, but the thing that called to me about the summit was it had the title international in it. So it was a perspective that is a world perspective. And I think a lot of times people are so confined to themselves, their neighborhood, and their immediate community that the relationship to a larger society is lost, right? They don't get the connection that we have a whole world. There's a whole world out there, and we have a relationship with that world. So I really like the term international from that perspective. And then the other part is the family aspect. So once I got into the summit, um, just the immediate kinship that I felt with people and the connection that I felt with people that still exists. And I know I haven't seen you all in ages, but it's just like, we talked yesterday. I still feel like, wherever I go in the world, I know people who will embrace me and who will take care of me, right? That I'm covered, through this family that is the International Black Summit. And then the other way that has impacted me, the thing that I picked up were the distinctions. So there are so many, talk about layers. There are so many distinctions in the summit. And I think it gives you, at least it gave me, an opportunity to look at the world through a different set of lens, to really stop and think sometimes what is actually going on and how am I viewing it. And I think probably one of my favorite distinctions is no out there, right? Like everything begins right here with me and how I see the world. So we can all be in the exact same room doing the exact same thing, and our perspective of it or how we feel about it or how we engage with it is real from the perspective of what we think about it and how we see it. So I can't see it for Glenn or for Grace or for anybody else. I can only see it for myself. And I also have to understand that everybody else's perspective is going to be different, even though we're all in the same room experiencing the same thing. So what that did was it gave me a lot of grace with people, to really, one, hear them, and two, to understand that their perspective and their worldview might be different than mine. And that's okay. Like there's the capability to hold it all. There's the capability to hold it all. And I think in one of the summits, we were in a but conversation and people kept saying, but. And I'm like, no, it's and. Doesn't have to be but this, but that. It's and, like, because all of it is true. It's and this, and that, and this, and that. It's all of it. And we hold all of it in our interactions with
Is
people. At
is that the
least,
conversation? Sorry to cut you off, Clara. Is that the conversation where the DJ facilitator, the music facilitator started playing doing the butt
yes, yeah,
during the
yes,
That was
conversation,
definitely Philly.
the butt conversation.
yes. And it's funny because music is another distinction of the summit. Like everything has value, everything lends itself to understanding of who we are and why we do what we do and how we do what we do. So I love the summit. I do. I really do love the summit. Yeah. And I think for me with my clients, it really gives me perspective. Yeah. It really gives me perspective. I have this thing where I say, everything is in its right place at its right time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we call that in the summit alignment. Um, and a lot of times people get so bent out of shape because things are not going a particular way, or they wanted this particular thing and it's not for them at this time. And I'm like, the thing that's for you is there. It's there waiting. And when everything lines up, it'll be the right thing at the right time for the right person. So there's nothing that anyone can take from you, because what God has for you is for you. Like, and then we have this capability also of creation. So the thing about the declaration that's so powerful, our words, what we're speaking, what we're declaring, what we're sharing with people, our visions, our dreams, are all part of that declaration and our speaking, and that we can generate. That's my other favorite distinction, self-generation. We can generate our lives. We can generate our lives by really getting clear about what our purpose is, what our vision is, what we want for ourselves, what we want for our lives. And we can declare that thing and it will show up. It will show up. So yeah, yeah. The summit is, I would say it's been an integral part of who I am as a person, how I do business, um, how I interact with people, how I interact in my relationships. And I don't think there is a day that goes by that I don't say some distinction or share a distinction with the people that I interact with, like, daily.
Well, Clara, you've got uh, in your bio you talk about this business that you've created for yourself. I mean, it's and it's not just a business, but I mean there are the different layers of it: the wellness, the real estate, the educational pieces. What's your overall vision? What is it that you're out to create in the world?
Thank you for asking that. I was thinking the same thing, Glenn. What is your
Oh,
vision, Claire?
wow. My vision is that my dreams and the dreams of others are actualized into reality. That I'm a
Mm,
conduit. I'm a conduit for that to happen. Yeah, for my dreams and the dreams of others to be actualized into reality. And so, whether it's helping someone um, purchase the home that they've been dreaming of, whether it's assisting people with their health through um, plant-based education and meals and diets, whether it's just having a conversation with somebody about what they want to do, a young person or an older person, about what they want to do in life, and what my experience, how I can, you know, lighten their load by sharing that experience with them to help them go farther or help them to get where they want to go. It's part of that. It's the podcast that I do every Friday where, it's to give people tools, information, and tips, resources to help them be more financially fit, whether that's, you know, intellectual wealth or financial wealth. And right now we're doing an author series. So I'm interviewing authors. It's all of those things to really help people see that everything that you need is available, right? And if I can be a conduit to help you get to where you want to go, then that's my purpose, right? That's my purpose in life. That's my vision. Yeah.
that is a beautiful vision. Like I'm very like
Thank
beautiful
you.
vision. And I really hear aspects of the distinction, of the declaration rather. Like
Mhm.
I hear looking at the declaration. Glenn, could we bring up the declaration again just briefly?
Absolutely.
Thank you. just looking at that, the paragraph in the declaration that starts with "We stand,"
Mm,
and looking at your bio and listening to what you just shared and looking at this paragraph, "We stand." So we stand for the expression of our spirituality. And I see in your bio the work that you've done with your Christian community and your church, and the way that you support there, and building economies responsible for funding our community, and the podcast that you're doing to really help people with their financial growth and financial literacy, maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, and the aspect of your business, the Lyonsview business, that's around health and wellness. All of these things. There's another aspect here that the real estate falls in there too, right?
mm.
Just really looking at, and other aspects that I'm probably not even touching on. So what do you see, since we're here, in the declaration that most calls to you, or that you feel is most connected to the vision you just shared with us?
Um, Building economies responsible for funding our community and maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, like those things really call to me because um, you mentioned when I was the director of the Victorious Business Professionals. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs at our church. And so I did a lot of programming for them, not only for the entrepreneurs, but the people who were working for other people as well. Just workshops to help empower them to go higher in their jobs, and or do things to support them in their businesses. And in that ministry, I think I was the first ministry at our church to be self-funding, because I believe that everything should pay for itself, right? Like God gives us the resources to be self-sufficient. You know, we can plant in the ground and have food come up and we can eat, right? It's
Right. We
you
can
put
probably
the
stop
seed in,
sharing now, Glenn. Thanks.
you put the seed in and it comes back up, food comes up. So you could have a community garden, and share that within the community so people can eat, right? Um, you can I got an email today where the young sorors were trying to go to an event that's happening in Honolulu, Hawaii. And my first thought that came up is, why the event is coming up like in 30 days or something. It's like, why didn't they start on this sooner? Like, what would have been a way for them to fund their participation? If this is something that you want, there's a way that you can achieve anything that you want and get the resources or generate the income to do what it is you want to do. Like, everything is there. There's no reason that anybody should be in lack, who has a mind and the creativity and the willingness and the desire to make things happen, to make things work.
Mm.
So I guess it's no mistake that I ended up as a finance coordinator.
That's right.
Glenn, I don't know if you remember this when we were in Brazil.
Yes,
Do you remember when we went to the
yes,
bank?
yes. One night,
That,
and the fruit bats were out, right? Remember that?
yes. Oh my God, it was hilarious. We had Glenn was my
Oh,
security. We had all of the money we had collected for the summit in Brazil, and there were what, over 300 people there? There was three to 500
yeah.
people. That's a lot of money. So we're on our way to the bank in Brazil, and we were walking at some point. I don't know why we were walking,
Yeah.
but it was just the most hilarious thing that I thought. I'm like, they could just knock us in. They don't know how much money we had. Like, it was just crazy. It was crazy, but I'll never forget that experience.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted folks to really include because yes, you are definitely about business, but you're about fun as well. I mean, we've had some really great times together. Um, I'm reminded of the event that you had for Black History that we came. A few of us came to visit your event and to support you in your event, and was this phenomenal author, and she had merchants that were there that were selling all kinds of African items, and clothing, and the necklaces and different things, jewelry and so on and so forth, and it really speaks to the livelihood that you are. You're about business, but you're also about fun, having fun and enjoying life. And the thing that comes up in the declaration for me, nurturing relationships.
Yes.
So, because there wasn't a moment that I didn't feel nurtured around you. Um, yeah, so that's also part of what I wanted to let folks know about. You want to talk a little bit about Blog Talk Radio and that experience, because it's interesting because that actually connects to the whole acting thing, which I didn't put together till tonight.
Wow. Well, I want to go back to the Black History Social for a minute because
Okay,
you
good.
know what, I've done so many things, I forget about it. I'm getting
Yes.
older.
Yes.
But the Black History Social was just that. It was I had gotten tired of going to on Martin Luther King Day, the I Have a Dream speeches, which is, no shade, but people go, they hear the speech, somebody recites something, and then it's over. So I wanted something that was interactive, that was fun, and that was also a way I wanted people, if they knew absolutely nothing about Black history, by the time that they left, they would know some things. So myself and two of my other sisters and one gentleman, George, Sondale, and Trina, we all got together and we created these games, and we used like Jeopardy. We did Name That Tune. We did concentration, and we handmade all of these games, right? We did the big boards like the size of the wall. At Jack London Square, we did something called African Connection. And the purpose of African Connection was for people to learn the countries in the continent of Africa. And so you got a country and you had to find your neighboring countries. So
Great
people were going
idea.
around trying to find their person, who's next to them. And then when you found them, you had to connect to them. You had to hold on. So at the end, like everybody's all entwined and tangled like Twister. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for bringing it up because I have forgotten about that. And that was one of the ways that I got connected when I first came to New Jersey too, with the community here because I didn't see no Black people in Cherry Hill. Um, and so I was like, where are the Black people? And this one lady that I met at the library, Tanya Norwood, introduced me to the church that I go to now. She came up and spoke to me. And the Cherry Hill Library was where I had the first Black History Social in New Jersey. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do like to have fun. I do like to have a good time. And I am about nurturing people. I think most of the time I'm a pretty good listener. Yeah. Yeah. So Blog Talk Radio. Wow. Uh, I am a creative spirit, so I think that's the backdrop of my creative side, the acting side, the creative side. And Blog Talk Radio, John Thomas, Lennar, uh, bless her heart, and may she rest in heaven. I miss her. Um, and it was me, her, Henrietta, and Shakesha,
And
Glenn.
Jerry,
Wow. Jerry. Oh God, can't leave out Jerry.
that's right. Yes. MVP.
MVP, yes. Yeah, we had
So
a
what
good
was
time,
the
but Blog,
yeah, what was the vision or the purpose of the Blog Talk Radio, the Summit Blog Talk Radio when it was a thing?
yeah. Blog Talk Radio was to bring the conversation of the summit to the people to the public, right? Because we were feeling like we it was our personal we were keeping the summit to ourselves, right? So we had this really intricate family, and we really wanted to get the summit conversation out in the world in a different way. And we talked about a little of everything, Glenn, didn't we?
Everything,
We talked about
everything. Oh
the,
my
the
goodness.
summit, the distinctions, gardening. Um, Jerry always talked about Black men and Black power.
Hmm. Hmm.
A, yeah, consummate New Yorker.
And
We talked about what was going on in the world, different topics. Yeah, we talked about. Go ahead, Glenn. Yeah, we talked about everything.
we talked about everything, and I want to point to Jerry, who at the time was not connected. You know, he kind of came in and started facilitating with us. He wasn't a trained facilitator. He trained himself. He just was happy
He was
to.
a listener.
Yeah, yeah. He was a listener, but he was there every week, and so we invited him to be part of it. And he just he just loved the conversation, and it still lives in the conversation. By the way, he's now got his own show that he's doing, so I mean
Yeah.
all of that has kind of come out of his feeling comfortable enough to facilitate with us who were facilitators, which leads me to the next question. What was it like being a facilitator for the International Black Summit?
And why
Wow.
did you decide to be trained as a facilitator?
I think I've always been a facilitator. And I stepped into facilitation in the International Black Summit from my very first summit. So you know how we get put into groups, small groups, and leadership has always been on my back. And believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert. People don't believe that, but I am. I find myself in front of people a lot, and I can be a leader. But I really enjoy being behind the scenes and doing things behind the scenes. I like systems and things working efficiently. And so that's my level of facilitation. But, I got picked to speak for the group, and I was like, oh God. So I'm facilitating the conversation in the group. And what Glenn pointed to, the part about being nurturing, I think a really big part of facilitation is being nurturing. That nurturing spirit in me is one of facilitation. It's facilitating that everybody is taken care of. I have a spirit to make sure that everybody is okay. I did a trip for my best friend and a group of friends. And, I planned the trip, made sure that everybody had everything that they need. We had a place to stay, we had food, we had transportation, like everything's taken care of. I planned trips. I probably could be an event coordinator, right?
Hmm.
Well, I did the bus, on the bus, I made sure we had food, we had beverages, we had games, we had interaction on the bus going down. We got things that would engage people and connect people to one another. Because a lot of times people don't talk to people they don't know. So I'd like to make it easy for people to connect to one another. Um, so that's just part of my nature to take care of people and to make sure that people are taken care of. When we did the business expo at my church, we all the vendors were there, but I made sure that the vendors had food, that they had food because they were out there all day, food and water, that there were runners to make sure that the vendors were taken care of, that they had everything that they needed because they're serving the people who are coming to see them. So it's just my nurturing nature. Yeah. So that's a part. So the declaration really speaks to me in a lot of ways. It does. Yeah.
I just want to say a little bit about facilitation for anybody who's listening to get a sense of what we mean by facilitation in the summit, because there's
Yeah.
different types of facilitation that we engage in. I already talked a little bit earlier about the music facilitator at the annual summit
Shout out
event,
to
that there's
Conrad.
somebody. Yeah, so there's somebody who is facilitating the music, engaging the music, and we use music as part of the conversation. I mean, this is the International Black Summit. There's music there. And so there's that. There's facilitating the actual conversation that's happening in the room in our events. And so being either up at the front of the room, several facilitators engaging and facilitating the conversation, or at the back of the room facilitating and engaging the conversation. And you talked a lot, Clara, about facilitating the space, like
Yes.
facilitating the actual physical space, and the production of the space, and ensuring that the people in the space are taken care of so that they can focus on the conversation and not be distracted by things that could be distracting in the space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I also did the prerequisite for a while. So I never had desire to be in the front of the room. And hats off, because the facilitators at the front of the room are genius. There's something about being able to allow people to be totally who they are, to be totally transparent, to talk about whatever it is they're talking about, because what goes on in the summit stays in the summit, and to extract from that distinctions that allow people to get their life is genius to me. Is really, really genius to me. And so my hat's off to the facilitators in all of the spaces, because I think all of it is important. There's that and again, and the
Yeah.
music facilitation, and the back of the room facilitation, and the space, and the non-tangible things, the systems, how things, registration, did that for a while, just making sure that everything is taken care of, all of the ands. And it leads to how we facilitate our lives. We take that into business. We take that into day to day with our families. We take that into how we operate and manage ourselves. So facilitation is a very necessary thing. But I think one of the things that's powerful about being a facilitator in the International Black Summit is that you learn to be conscious about your facilitation.
Yeah.
You really learn to
And conscious about your life.
say that.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
very much so. Very much so. Yeah, it's a very powerful space. And it grew me in so many ways, in terms of, who I am. I it's invaluable. I
Do
love the
you
center. I
do
Yeah,
you have any
can't say that.
let me
Yeah.
just underline a little bit about the facilitation. So, here at the International Black Summit, we listen to space. We listen powerfully, and so we use the time together to really get to the underlining pieces of what is stopping you, what is holding you back, or what's blindsiding you and not allowing you to move forward. Because all of the distinctions and all of the things that we do are about you being present to your life, being responsible, and being able to move forward powerfully, without being held back. And so we've got different venues for that. So we've got the prerequisite, which is a 1 day program. We have the annual summit event, which is a 3 day. We actually start that Thursday. Um, we have a prerequisite on that Thursday, and then we have an opening wherever the host city is that night, and then we have a full day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We also have the summit shares that you're in attendance to on Sunday nights. We have the podcast series that we've been doing. We also have the care team, and we also once you
care
put
team being the community and regional events?
Thank
team.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And also we also have a leadership body that meets. In fact, Clara hosted one of those events in New Jersey, which is where we meet in between the annual event. We plan out what there is to do, and Clara invited us to this one of the houses that she owned, and we were able to be there and had a retreat in the middle of New Jersey for an entire weekend, just fellowshipping and working together and loving up each other, just cooking together, just having a whole bunch of fun. And so those are some of the events and the kind of facilitation that takes place inside of the International Black Summit.
Mm.
Go ahead, Jackie
Indeed.
Grace. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Clara, you talked about facilitating the prerequisite.
Mm.
So I have two questions. I have two questions going through my mind. One is asking you about facilitating the prerequisite, and
Mm.
the other, let's start with the second question, which is, are there any examples from your life of facilitating a specific event, circumstance, incident in your life using what you've learned and the tools that you have through the International Black Summit? Something that you facilitated in your life or in your community or in your family, in your business, and a specific example of how you facilitated that using the summit distinctions or tools.
Mm. Okay. So I'll use a very personal one. So one of the distinctions is trigger, right? And trigger is
Which we use in a very specific way.
yes, it's 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 something that you are unwilling or unconscious to be with about yourself, right? And I had heard the term ghost, right? But I'd never been ghosted until I'd been ghosted. And I was like, I've been ghosted, right? This has never happened to me before. And so I was triggered, and I was trying to get to what was it about the experience that was causing this upset within me. So went to my creative side, and I'm going to share this poem with you guys.
Mm.
And it's called Access Denied. Okay.
Okay.
Didn't realize that you were a locksmith, secretly turning the tumblers of the lock on my inner emotions. Lock picked, but didn't realize the door opened to a deeper place, a past fueled with hurt, insecurity, and lack of trust. The mirror of you, your actions, your movements, the key to a dark place inside me kept locked down, now exposed. Alarms going off, blaring, pushing me to emotions of panic and anxiety. At first, not understanding the source. Under further inspection, though, realizing my safe was broken, the safe that protected my broken place, the place filled with memories wanting to be forgotten. First hurt, then anger, then gratefulness for the exposure. Exposures of memories wanting to be forgotten, memories wanting to be healed, to be transformed from their ugly, broken place. Memories taking up space, memories needing to be replaced with true love, love of self, love of me. Now that I realize that you were that key to that dark part of me, until I heal that which was buried and forgotten, until I transform and get to my whole self. No key, longer able to be turned. No more memories wanting to be forgotten. Only memories transformed and healed, no longer under lock for you or any key. Thanks for setting off the alarm. And until further notice, access is denied.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
That is
Applause.
absolutely.
Or snaps, rather. Snaps, it's poetry.
And so what so like with trigger is about really getting to see what is it that it's giving you access to, what place in yourself. And then once you get there, what do you need to do to transform that space so that it doesn't hurt anymore? So it doesn't hurt anymore. So even if it's exposed, and that's why testimonies are great, right? Because you go through these tests and then you're healed when you can talk about it, when you can share it and it doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't have any hurt. It doesn't have the trigger. Like you can be with it, you can talk about it, and you've gotten past it. And that's the transforming nature of the conversation of the summit. And I would not have been able to get to that place of transformation, first realizing what is it about this that's nagging me? And then able to see, to look inside to say, hey, this is what's bothering me, and this is why it's bothering me. And okay. I know I need to do some work in that particular area so I can, yeah. So it's really a great place of self-exploration. And then on the other side of it is, I think in working with people, it's always good to just be able to see people through their purpose and through their vision. And when I look at people post summit, I'm looking at them through what is their purpose and what is their vision, and how can I help them with whatever their purpose is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to come back to trigger, and what you also describe is, so you identified the anger, upset, you
Mhm.
noticed it, you then, which is another one of our distinctions to noticing, and noticing is the ability to see yourself outside of yourself, to identify what you're saying, doing, and how you're being, and then you tracked it,
Mhm.
and you tracked it back to yourself so that you can figure out what is that thing pointing to. So you tracked it to that emotion, that hurt, that place that was discovered or buried, and you brought it to the forefront, and then at that point in time, you were able to transform it and create another conversation about that thing which had upset you originally. So all of those things are part of how we um, diffuse uh, triggers. And so that trigger is a process that we use inside the International Black Summit. And Clara, you've defined it perfectly, because at the end of it, it's always pointing to some commitment that we have, or that's not being fulfilled, and we get to track it and acknowledge it. And then once we can do that, then we can change that whole um, energy that we bring to that particular conversation, and certainly
Yeah.
with people and things that trigger.
You know,
Yeah.
it's it's interesting. It's just looking at that process that you both just described, you giving the example, Clara, and then Glenn really talking about what that process is in the summit. And for me, just wanted to take why do we engage in those kinds of questions? Why do we have those distinctions in the summit? And it's, you know, if you look at what's available through the summit, what we say is available through the summit. If you go to the website and you look at About Us, it'll say, have a section saying what's available through the summit. And one of the things we say is available is an exploration of questions and issues which empower participants to realize their vision for the Black community and the world. And so what you were just demonstrating was something that was getting in the way of you realizing your vision for
Yes.
yourself, the Black community, and the world. It was something that was a block or a barrier or a burden, something that was a challenge, interrupting that. And so that's part of what the summit makes available, is being able to, for us to be able to engage in this conversation in a way that then gives us greater capacity to fulfill on our vision for the Black community and the world, for ourselves and our families, you know, all of that. And so it's not therapy, you know. So somebody might hear that conversation and think, yeah, you know, this is some kind of thing. No, it's not therapy. It's an exploration in order for us to be able to fulfill on our visions.
I like that word, interruption, because I think it's the interruptions in life that keep us from our purpose. It keeps us from doing the things that we're destined to do. And it could be as simple as, you know, negative self-talk, in the no out there conversation, when people kept saying they this and they that and they. I'm like, who's they? And what are you doing? And, you know, what are you committed to, you know, for yourself, you know, to get to what you want for you and for your family? And, you know, yeah. So I think the interruptions and people, the unconsciousness, you know, the unconsciousness, if we can be more conscious and more intentional, if I can be more conscious and intentional, then I can do more. I can get more done. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And for me, when I am, although this is your interview, I'm going to talk.
Share, please.
For me, and it's one of the things that I love about the summit space. You know, we are in this interview with you, Clara, but the summit conversation is the summit conversation, and it goes and it's an inclusive conversation. There's space for all of us, and there's space for whatever is arising in the moment, and we give space and we allow for what's arising in the moment. And so as you were sharing that, and being using the tools in a way that enables you to be more productive because you're more conscious and intentional. And one of the things for me that I find is, yes, it may enable me to be more productive, but that's not always what I'm focusing on. And I don't even know that I would be fulfilled necessarily if it makes me more productive, because that's not my personal thing.
Yeah.
But what it does for me, being conscious as intentional, is it has me gain access to a greater level of peace for me, a greater level of peace, a greater level of self-understanding, a greater capacity to just be in life, fully accepting of my deepest authenticity. And so that's what that level of intention and consciousness makes available for me, you know? So, so I appreciate this conversation, and that it is a conversation, because it really is steeped in the power of language and the power of listening. And one of the things that I've gotten from the summit is listening to their conversation, listening to what comes out of people's mouths will clarify and tell you everything about why, who they are, and why their life has been created the way it's being created. And if they want their life to be created differently, then they will need to have some different conversations.
Indeed.
And so for me, I have a lot of appreciation for the value that provides myself and others.
Indeed.
So you left a full-time job and moved into real estate to become self-employed. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I what was that 20? No, that was 1996. Yeah, that was a while ago. And I haven't gone back. That's the really crazy part. Yeah, 1996. And I started in real estate then, and I had a couple of twists. One, I got married, um, relocated to another state, and for a while I was going back and forth. Like I'd fly to California, stay for a month or so, do business, fly back, and Edwin said, okay, you're straddling the fence. Where you gonna be? What you gonna do? I was
Mm.
like, oh, okay. So then I started focusing on building my real estate business in New Jersey. But my thought at the time was I can make more money in California because the cost of homes are higher, right? So do a couple of deals there to 10 deals that I'd have to do in New Jersey, right? So I was like, okay. So, I started focusing on here and then was really in the space of being a wife and being a mother to a child that I did not bear out of my loins. And that was a whole nother experience. And yeah, and then having Ed transition at such an unexpected time, I just didn't expect that. Ed, my mother-in-law is 99 this year. She'll be 100 this year on her birthday. His father lived to be, ooh, was he 90 when he passed? He was older when he passed. So I mean, like this man has long genes. I expected him to outlive me. So that set me back for a minute because I wasn't expecting him to pass. And I kind of took myself off the grid for a while, but during that time, um, I kept hearing him say, you got to keep going. You got to do what you're going to do. So I got my broker's license in that time period. And things just started lining up. You know, uh, the first company that I was actually looking for a building, and I went to a conference and I met this gentleman, and we talked, and he had the building, everything. The structure was already set up. I hadn't thought about doing a franchise, but that's basically what it was. And went into that structure and saw I had responsibility for the entire state. So it came with agents, it came with everything was there, which was great because it was a good way to learn. Um, and then I thought, this is not why I became a broker. Like I had a very clear vision about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to practice and who I wanted to be and who I wanted to serve and how I wanted to serve them. And so I left that company and started my own company in 2016, which is Lyonsview Realty. And it's been phenomenal. It's been great. I have a great team of agents who work with me. Um, and we help people. It's really about helping people within the communities that we serve and being an advocate for them in moving to the dream of home ownership, and not just for having a house with four walls, but for wealth building and for people to understand that property ownership is the way to build wealth in the world. So you need to own a piece of dirt somewhere, because the value of that dirt over time is going to increase more than what you would make on your job. The only thing that rises higher than that is the stocks if you invest wisely. And everybody doesn't have that skill, but property doesn't require any particular skill other than you need to get a piece of dirt with some property on it and let time happen. And if you let time happen, that property will appreciate in value. And for those people who purchased pre-COVID, they experienced it in a shorter period of time. Like within 3 years, their property values have doubled and tripled in that time frame. So building wealth is really important. It's important in all communities, but it's especially important in our community because we, as people of color, we have at our fingertips trillions and trillions of dollars that we give away. And we give it away in things that are not tangible and that don't create legacy, right? And so to have a legacy that is sustainable, you need something that you can give to the next generation. You can't give them, your Jordans, or your jeans or your Gucci bag, because, the value of those things, they stay for a period of time, but you can't, it doesn't have it doesn't generate the type of wealth that you would get through real estate. And so that's why real estate is so near and dear to my heart. And I really want to convey that message to people. So I always tell people, buy what you can afford. Don't even care if you don't want to live it. Because people say, I don't want to live in a particular neighborhood that they may be able to afford. Doesn't matter that everyone is going to live somewhere. Someone is going to live in that property. So buy what you can afford. And over time, you can leverage that to get something else that may be more of what you want, or where you're going to live. Or even initially, you may be able to afford to buy what, in the neighborhood that you would like to be in. But buy whatever you can afford and leverage that wealth over time. And it allows you to do things. I always think of homes as the bank, because once you build equity, and equity basically is you bought it here and now it's here, or the value is here, but you only owe this. So that space in between is your equity. And you can use that equity over and over again. And as it keeps going up, you can continue to use that equity to do other things, and you still have this base, right? So it's a really helping people to see not only their financial wealth, but also their intellectual wealth. I'm an avid reader. I'm an avid training person. I'm always taking classes, always learning new things. But those are the things that I kind of focus on, or have been focusing on in life, and educating other people to have the necessary skills and get the information that they need so that they can build wealth as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Clara. I have a question.
Yes.
Because in that, you said at one point that you had a clear vision. So you were working in a particular context and you said this was great to learn, but it wasn't fulfilling on the clear vision that you had. And so my question for you is, can you talk a little bit about the distinction and process that we call clearing in the International Black Summit? The process and distinction, clearing, and using that to get clear on your vision so that you can fulfill on it.
Yeah, clearing is when I take an opportunity to look at what I'm doing and to see if it's in alignment with what I really want. And so if I am in a situation that is not bringing me joy. First, for me, I have to identify what is it that brings me joy, right? So when I was working for someone else in real estate, and when I was working inside of the franchise in real estate, my values and what I wanted for me weren't being addressed. So what did I identify? I identified, I like the freedom to do things the way I like to do them. So when you get into a corporate structure, you follow the corporate structure. So if you work for McDonald's, there is a manual. There is the McDonald's way. There is the McDonald's hat. There's the McDonald's uniform. There is everything that says McDonald's. Well, my brand is Lyonsview. So Lyonsview has a particular brand. That's my vision. It's I call it the Lyonsview lifestyle, right? So Lyonsview lifestyle is when you look at what's available and the potential for your life, whether that's financially, whether intellectually, spiritually, food, health, whatever. And you see the possibility and you go for what is the best thing for you, right? You can see it. It's a lion's view. That's the name of the company. You know how the
Oh.
sits at the top of the mountain, although my name is spelled with a Y, but the lion is the king of the jungle and it sits at the top of the mountain and it overlooks the kingdom, right? But it's the lion's kingdom. So your kingdom could be whatever you imagine it to be. It's your view, right? It's your lifestyle and you get to have it. And so that's my vision for my company. That's the vision for my clients. I want to give you what you want, right? Whatever's in your view, whatever you can dream, however big you can dream, I want to help you get to that place. Yeah. So in clearing myself, for me, first I got to be clear on what it is that I want for me and realize that this ain't that. Because when this ain't that, there's upset, there's confusion, there's all kinds of different emotions that say, I am out of alignment. I want to be here, but I'm here. So what is it that I need to do to get to here? And what is it that's interrupting or getting in the way of me getting to here? And as I move things out of the way, I'm like, oh, I did this. Well, that didn't do it. Clear that out of the way. I did this, that didn't do it. Clear that out of the way. Did this, that didn't do it. Clear that out of the way. Or it may just be a conversation, And as I keep clearing things, I'm getting closer and closer to being in alignment with my vision, and then I can move forward.
Very nice. Very nice. I might do this International Black Summit thing. That sounds
Indeed.
What would you say to someone who is kind of interested but not sure about the International Black Summit? What would you say to them to have them get what's available?
I would say if you are really honest with yourself that you want to realize your purpose in life, then this is a space that you want to check out, because inside of the space, you'll get some tools that will help you to deal with the interruptions in a way that's productive, and also that will help you to eliminate the things that are blocking you from moving forward. And it'll also, if you're already very intentional about who you are and what you're up to, it'll put you in a community of people who are doing some really phenomenal things. It will expand your worldview, your personal view. So if your world is like this, it'll make your world like this. It'll expand your worldview as well. And if those are things that, speak to you, then it's the place for you. Yeah, it's a great place for you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Clara. So I want to go back to the question that I had asked, but didn't have you answer. And then I think we can possibly go to the last question of the session, depending
Okay.
on what Glenn thinks. So I had asked you about facilitating the prerequisite, and what was your experience doing that, and what do you see available? We have a prerequisite coming up on June 22nd, 2024. And so what do you see when you talk about facilitating the prerequisite, what's available by participating in the prerequisite, all of that?
Wow. The prerequisite is it's kind of like a taste of the summit. It introduces you to the distinctions of the summit. And so you get the language, because it's a whole new language when you enter the room. And so the prerequisite will introduce you to the distinctions in a way that when you get into the annual event, you'll be more comfortable. And you've had an opportunity to put those distinctions into practice before you get into the room. Yeah.
Thank
That's it.
you.
That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yes.
Thank you. Glenn, do you have any questions before we go to the last one?
No, I think let's go to the last one. Let's go to the last one.
Okay. Last question, Clara.
Yes.
First of all, one other thing I wanted to say, I always appreciated you and Edwin as a couple in the summit. His nickname being Black Love, and you as a couple being a demonstration of Black love, having met through the International Black Summit, and then having a presence in the International Black Summit as one of because you guys aren't the only ones who came out of it. You're not the only couple that came out of the summit, but being a demonstration of Black love in the International Black Summit, I always appreciated you guys for that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And it's taken me a while to move on in life. So I'm finally at a space where I am open to a new relationship. So if there is a new Black love out there, I'm here, I'm waiting, and I'm ready. Yeah. I'm waiting for him to find me. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
So the last question, Clara.
Yes.
What are 3 wishes that you have for the world right now?
Ooh. That's a good question. Oh, I think one wish would be for everyone to take on take responsibility. And when I say that, it's inside of that no out there conversation. I think we're responsible for where we are and what we've got. And I think that if each of us takes responsibility for the things that we want to see happen, more things would shift, more things would move forward. So my wish is that everyone take responsibility in whatever their purpose is, right? Whatever that looks like for each of us, that we step fully into it, and that would shift the world. And that really stands inside the declaration. If each of us just does our part, the world will shift, right? So that's one wish. The other wish I have is kind of the flip dark side of that. So the dark side of that would be I wish that people would experience, if they could experience the harm that they put on other people, then I don't think people would do it.
Interesting.
So if I go to shoot you and instead the bullet hits me, I would not be so apt to shoot you because I know that you're not going to get the harm that's going to come to me. So it's a dark twist on responsibility, but I just want people to be conscious of the impact on what they do to not only to themselves, but to the people around them and to the environment and to the world.
Mm.
Clear.
And then the third thing I'd wish, I just wish that more people could experience joy and happiness authentically.
Mm.
Like it doesn't have to be a really deep thing. Like nobody can give it to you. It's just something that, wake up in the morning, you're breathing. That's just joy and happiness. Like just that more people can experience true joy and happiness, that they feel it for themselves, just like the world's okay with me. Today's okay. It's a good day. I'm alive, I'm breathing. It's a good day. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing today? Yeah.
Well, Clara Lyons-DeVaughn, it has been such a pleasure to have you here to kind of like break bread again, just to really re-engage and a real opportunity to discover some things that I didn't know about, even though I've known you all these years, but for both of us, really. And to really acknowledge you for the work that you're doing out in the world, um, having people's lives transform, having them see a vision for themselves that they may not see by themselves. So you encourage them, support them, and expand their looking such that they can actually see some things available to them. And I think that that's such a noble thing to be able to do in the world, to support other people. And the other part is just the love that you are for people. You have so much, you just, basket full of love and just giving it out. And, I've always loved that about you. And, I just really want to thank you for being part of this conversation called the International Black Summit, and being a partner of mine all these years inside of this conversation. And, just a brilliant, brilliant person that is in love with life, you know. Um, so thank you, Jackie Grace.
Ditto. Thank you so much for being here, Clara. And honestly, we haven't seen each other in years, and you look exactly the same. I'm like, this is some serious black don't crack. I just, you look fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, so thank you, everyone. I think we're going to complete. So thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight with this interview with Clara Lyons-DeVaughn. If you're interested in finding out about the International Black Summit, check us out anytime. Our website is blacksummit.org. Feel free to join us. We have a free session every Sunday evening, Eastern time. And so we hope that you'll come check us out there as well. You can find out more on our website, blacksummit.org, or you can check us out on YouTube or other social media.
Great. Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.